What's going on, everybody? Welcome back.
Welcome back. Welcome to the best place on the internet to get free real estate related, but then also free life game. Welcome to another episode of Free Game Fridays. Hashtag FGF. My boy
GTG, DMD, we in here.
We in the building. And we gonna be all right. Best believe that. So we got some heavy content for y'all today. So be ready to tap in. Be ready to have a good time, learn some things, and put on some game, because that's what we do the best. And again, I'm Gary the Great, in case you didn't remember that.
And I'm DMD the GOAT, #1 real estate agent in Seattle, Washington. Greater Seattle.
#1. Don't you forget that.
Yeah.
Either. So due to the fact that we have such dense material to cover today, we're just going to go ahead and dive right in. Sometimes that's the best way to approach this type of stuff, is you just dive in. So DMD, I got a very important question for you, my brother. Mm-hmm. Something that people need to hear. Does real estate discriminate? Does real estate discriminate, DMD to go?
Man, that's a good question. And I guess it just kind of depends on how you look at it.
It's true. This is very true.
So I guess I would throw a question back at you and ask you, from a historical context, historical perspective, how do you see real estate has discriminated?
Okay, good question. So real estate, I think there's a lot of different ways to look at it, but real estate has been one of those things that have historically set Black people back, and people of color in general. Initially ownership wasn't meant for Black people, you know what I'm saying? So that plays a role too. Mm-hmm. And then also I would say over time, a lot of the things that were put into place have historically kept Black people within certain parameters of ownership, whether it's redlining, keeping people in certain neighborhoods, not letting people get loans, people of color get loans, because that's gonna, get them to the next level of ownership. So historically, I would say that's a part of it, but there's been rules put into place recently where we've been able to make a little bit of progress, but we know rules, not everybody follows the rules, so there's stuff like the Fair Housing Act and things of that nature to prevent discrimination from race, ethnicity, marital status, sex, so on and so forth. There's still barriers that we're dealing with on a daily basis of trying to get our foot in the door to home ownership and take that wealth to the next level. So historically, absolutely. But I think there's been a lot of progress made. But I think it goes a little bit beyond the system. And you had shared some thoughts on that of that mindset behind ownership and whatnot. Let the people hear a little bit about that. It's beyond the system. And what does that mean?
Well, there's actually this new thing I read about. It's called bias coding. And so bias coding pretty much talks about how, pretty much in technology now, they have ways that they use coding languages to determine people's race and gender or ethnicity.
They got AI discriminating.
Yeah, well, the thing about that, though, is who's creating the AI?
True.
And so I think with the lack thereof, technological studies in Black and brown communities, and the fact that, now you can't point at someone who's necessarily discriminating against you because it's artificial technology, I think it's only going to get more. It's that cycle is the hamster wheel, in my opinion. Mm-hmm. When it comes to discriminating in real estate, and just discrimination in general, it does exist. Mm-hmm. I have been discriminated against, and frankly, I've had haters.
Mm-hmm. They're out there.
I've had my Karens. I've had a fair share of it all. I've seen it all. Trust me.
Door slamming faces. All
And in Seattle, it can be pretty bad because they be throwing, people throw slights. They won't actually say it out front.
Passive,
passive aggressive, right? Okay. But then I believe that every person has the choice to live in that reality or live in a reality where discrimination doesn't even exist. And
some people would say that's like an alternate reality. Some people would argue that.
And it's not to say that you're not going to experience discrimination, but it's more of the emotional intelligence behind being involved in the altercation or in an experience where discrimination is happening, but you're not allowing your emotional balance to be disrupted by it.
Well said.
And then from there, you can, you'll see more and more that these these experiences don't happen because you're not festering, you're not living in this reality of, oh, racism is all around me, discrimination is all around me, this is always happening to me, why is it always happening to me? You're over here living in a world of love and abundance and support and empowerment. And when you're living in this side, and this is just a mental switch, right? There's a lot of self-conditioning and self-work that needs to happen in order to get out of everything that is the world, that media talks about, that friends are talking about, that internet's talking about, and conditioning yourself into this other space that, you know, you won't live this experience of discrimination, maybe to the degree, the extreme degree as you would if you were just festering it.
No, I like that point. And to build on that too, if you take that mentality and mindset behind, I like what you said about the emotional disruption, because you can knock on a door and get that slammed on your face, and maybe it was because you were black, or maybe it was because of your race. But do you let that stop you from knocking on another door? That's the question. Because discrimination housing, I think it goes beyond just race too, right? It's about, you know, wealth. Do you even have money to tap in, you know, because if you got money, they don't care what race you are. Come on in, right? Yeah, in most cases, right? There's still neighborhoods where I'm sure there's co-ops where it's like communities are tight and they have the choice to not let certain races in. But at the same time, like you said, like, are you continuing to knock on doors? Are you continuing to find your way in? Because there are ways to continue to go in. And a big part of that is the knowledge and whatnot. So one statistic I wanted to throw out there was African Americans are at the bottom of the total poll when it comes to home ownership in America at about 42%. Now the crazy part of this, and this is something that really had me thinking and like just digging deeper behind all these statistics, because there's a million different reasons why, but African Americans have actually taken a slight decline in home ownership from like the 70s. So in the 70s, we had more African Americans owning homes than we do now. And you would think like, oh, progress over time, things should just get better. You know, the Fair Housing Act and all these things that we're putting in place, it should be moving the needle in the right direction. But again, there's a lot of different reasons as to why that isn't. And then also, COVID affected a lot of people in ways, and the majority of people are people of color and African Americans who have been feeling the effects of COVID and losing their jobs and so on and so forth.
Who are also the lowest vaccinated. And we know, you know, we've talked about why we feel, I know why I don't feel comfortable with certain things in terms of like, you know, the doctors or whatnot, with the Tuskegee experiment, you know, that's just one, because of the different layers of attitudes that, you know, I've received when I go into a doctor's office and I'm sitting across from someone who has a degree, but to me, I'm like, yeah, I respect your degree, but you put your pants on just like I do. None of that matters, you know, and we talk about any other element of what may make you superior being, you know, we're going neck and neck, or I'm, you know, exceeding you on many levels, you know, in the most humbly way possible. But what I would say is, you know, pulling that into, when I would say that, pulling back discrimination into like home ownership, the black condition has decreased so much over time. Like we used to be like the highest wed, like married, you know, population back when we were slaves. You know, and like I'm married today, and I believe in marriage to a very, very high degree. And it's one of those things where I feel like it's not celebrated in our culture anymore. You know,
it's really not.
We have baby dads, we have baby moms, and so my point is the black condition is getting worse over time. And your statistics just showed, you know, one element of how it is. But then we also have like justifications on why certain things are the way that they are, but we have to start pulling ourselves up by our bootstraps, getting smart, educating ourselves into what is happening in society today that can progress our situation for our families first. Agreed. And then spread that knowledge to everybody who's around you. And I think, you know, we won't we will significantly change our experience and build generational wealth for our families.
100% well said. And actually, that's a great transition.
It's technical, very technical, but
that's a great transition right into the next topic, which is generational wealth. And that's a buzzword for a lot of people. I think a lot of people, you know, a lot of millennials are a part of that generation of wanting to be the ones that build that foundation of generational wealth for their family. Now, us being in the real estate industry, people are going to look at us and be like, well, of course you guys are going to say real estate's the best vehicle. You guys are trying to slang them houses, right? Like, you guys are trying to slang houses. But, you know, doing a little bit
I got something.
You know, so a lot of people will say, oh, you guys are just trying to sling houses. But the reality is that we know real estate is one of the best investment vehicles to achieve generational wealth. It's not the only, but it's one of the best, if not the best. Now, people can get into a lot of different things to begin that process of generational wealth. I think something small that people, not small, but a lot of things people may overlook is even having life insurance, right? I've had friends and family who, actually more so friends, not as many family members, but white friends, for instance, who have had parents pass away and got cashed out from it. Now, obviously, you can't replace that life, but at least you got a couple $100,000 from it to build something for yourself and start to build some generational wealth for yourself or continue that generational wealth. So that's one way. Crypto, we see a lot of people getting into cryptocurrencies and stocks, and that's becoming a lot more of a regular thing for people.
Even to that point, another reason why you don't just walk around like you're a superior being. You could be talking to someone who's just got into crypto or who's been in crypto for a very long time. And again, things that you would qualify yourself, on to be the superior being, whether it be your degree or whether it be your achievements or whatever. At the end of the day, like you said, it comes down to the dollar that you're making. And somebody in crypto, they could be in it for a long time and don't have any of those things. And again, they're exceeding you in many other areas, right? But they still have that humility, and that balance, to still move around the world. And I think that's really important. And then to wrap that also, we need to get into crypto.
Agreed.
Because the metaverse is a real thing. And it's not even on our agenda to go here, but the metaverse is a real thing. We're looking at how to buy real estate in the metaverse, building, conglomerates and building, hotels and shopping malls, etc. So the metaverse is a real thing. And again, when I say, and I'm harping on this because when I say the Black condition has, in many components or many ways decreased over time, the metaverse is going to set even more generations of separation if Black and brown people don't
invest in it,
don't take the time to put their mind into it, and are not distracted by, this trial happening on CNN or racism all across the country, and not just solely, don't put all your energy into it. Focus on it for what you believe in, but then also pivot your mind to start looking at what's progressively happening around you.
100%, and something you just made me think of too, and something I wanted to throw out there just to get back to just the generational wealth and what that means is, wealth is different than just making a lot of money, right? Because you can make 100,000, 200,000, and spend 100,000, spend 200,000.
Yeah, in a day.
Keeping up with the Joneses, or
don't play.
Going out the new whatever it may be.
In an hour.
In an hour, you can blow it off. People do. So, point being is, generational wealth is a part of setting that foundation for the future, thinking ahead, thinking about like you said, your children, your children's children, things of that nature. Like I was blessed to be in a position where I had enough support to be able to put myself in position to build generational wealth. I didn't come from a lot of wealth. I came from a place of support enough to get me into a stable position. I think that's a part of it too, is building stability for yourself and for your family to be able to stand up and then rise tall too. How else do you stand tall? How else do you grow without having that stability in the foundation in generational wealth? So that's a big part of it. And we can both agree that I personally would say real estate or owning a home is probably the number one way to really establish that generational wealth. Like I think that's just the number one way to get started, and you still can dabble in all those other things, have the life insurance policy, get into cryptocurrencies, get your stock game up a little bit. Any other vehicles or ways you can think of in terms of building generational wealth?
I mean, I think I just agree with you. I think that buying a house is a great way because you're investing in an asset that's more or less majority of the time appreciating. And when I buy an asset like a house, I always think to myself, like, how can this, and not everybody's like this, but I'm just kind of breaking off some diamonds here. I look at a house like, how can I earn money using this house and use it as a foundational piece for my family? So I have a place where I can, provide a roof for my family, but then also earn income. And so when I go into a situation where I'm buying a house, I'm looking at the space, I'm breaking down and looking on the city, and this is a little bit more advanced, right? But I'll look at the city, permissions of what's allowed for a business in a certain area, and before I buy that house, if all the boxes check, I'll buy the house, and then now it's an income producing property. But not on the simple level of like, I'm just gonna rent this house and make $500 a month. Like I'm trying to, cash flow like $5, $10, $15, $20,000 out of a house
based off of that. Yep.
So and that's a totally different video that we can get into. But a lot of people talk about, you know, and that, again, that's advanced. So I think the first thing, and pull it back, is to just buy a house. Once you buy a house, you know, earn your equity, stop renting, wasting your money on rent. And, you know, a good mindset that I have, because I have, you know, 2 daughters. I want to at least, by the time I pass, you know, I want to at least give them 2 properties each. And that's a very low medium for me in my mind. Like, I want to do more, but at a base, it's like I want to give them 2 properties each. That means in my lifetime, I have to buy 4. So, and if I have any other kids, I want to give them 2. And then that's generational wealth, because once it's paid off, which I'm going to pay it off for 30 years, right? Mm-hmm. Or life insurance, if something happens to me before then they're going to have a free and clear asset that they can sell, they can
choose,
you know,
to do it. Yeah.
And I'm teaching them early on, right? Mm-hmm. You know, hey, this is real estate, this is how it works. And so, you know, so I think that is the best way to start. You know, and I've got people in the houses with no money down.
No money down. And there's ways and possibilities. And that's one thing I always tell people, and you guys will hear that on every episode too, is don't count yourself out before you peel back the curtain a little bit and take a look and you know, understand what it takes
mm-hmm.
to get your foot in the door. So, we'll say on that. Now, to kind of bring everything together, you know, Black ownership, man, just Black ownership in general. What's next for Black ownership? That 43%, bottom of the totem pole, historically, you know what I'm saying, historical setbacks, things of that nature. But like you said, get beyond some of those barriers and getting into the mentality of beyond discrimination and some of the things that are holding us back. What's next for Black ownership or Black people getting into homes?
Stop being a slave to the condition.
Condition, that's what I was looking for. Condition.
Stop being a slave to the condition. We just said that the condition is not getting any better. So what do you have to do? You have to step outside or off of the track, look backwards, look forward, right? Don't stay in the past. You know, like there's constantly on the daily we're reminded of where we came from to the point of slavery. But we cannot forget that we are kings and queens of this land. I mean, facts. The moment we can get past that first level of condition, if you're going backwards and you can sit on the king and queen element of it, you fast forward and we only focus on going forward, then you have to learn the game. And the game is simple. 2 years income. Keep a job for 2 years.
Keep a job for 2 years. Consistent.
Have good credit. Use credit building resources online that are free and tap in.
It's relatively simple. It's relative.
Tap into people who know what they're talking about or that you can trust, you feel like you can trust. And then build a plan on paper. In 1 year, 2 years, 3 years, seems like a long time, but it goes by like this. Just look how fast your kids are growing. You can have an asset that you can call your own, and that is just the start of it.
100%.
So we have to stop being a slave to our condition, and we have to get out of our own way. Step off the track, look back, remember where we came from, and look forward, and start building a plan on how we can attain our first asset or achieve and attain another asset outside of real estate.
And build and grow. 100%. Man, that was a lot of games you just dropped on. That was a lot of gems. That was that back-to-back gems. He just, come on, y'all heard it. The brother just laid out a whole plan, step by step, on just ways to get out of that condition. And it's not even, again, we're not taking the time to acknowledge the reality of the situation that we in. I think that's where any truth starts. You got to acknowledge the truth, acknowledge what's real. But then, like you said, you got to get beyond it because we can't sit around and wait for anybody or anything else to help propel people forward. Like you said, you got to kind of look in the mirror and be like, what can I do to take this to the next level? Like, what can I do to take myself to that next level? What do I want for myself? Who am I? What do I want for myself? How am I going to achieve that? Who do I need to meet? Who do I need to talk to? Who do I need to get knowledge and information from? Because it's not all on you too, you know what I'm saying? Like, as far as being able to utilize the resources around you, like, you know, the smartest people know that they don't need to know everything, but they need to meet some people who know some things that maybe they don't know, right? And you build off of that. So a part of Free Game Fridays and what we're even doing and why we're doing this is for that very reason. It's for you to even see people that look like you, that are in the industry, have that knowledge and are willing to give it out. The whole premise of Free Game Fridays. So we're not only talking about this stuff, but we're embodying it and we're doing it as we speak. So if you're asking questions of how, why, what, I don't know what my friends can do, share the video. You know what I'm saying? Share this.
Like and subscribe.
Like, subscribe, share this information, because this is the information that's going to keep coming. It's going to keep getting better. We're going to keep getting deeper as we progress through. And you guys follow the game with us. We're going to give you more intricate ways and details and blueprints to be able to achieve all the stuff we're talking about, from real estate, building generational wealth, setting your family up for success, and also life game in terms of the mentality behind how to do all this, because that's where it all starts. It starts with the mentality. You know, we can talk about breaking down these barriers and walls and busting through all these walls and stuff, but if your head's not on straight, if you ain't got no helmet on, you're gonna get a concussion, you're gonna pass out and give up. So you're gonna fall.
Diversity is a big
You know what I'm
thing.
saying? Diversify that mind. Diversify that mind. So
and then I would also say, you know, for any of our viewers who challenge any of our perspectives or disagree, the one thing I feel like that brought a lot of peace to my life is learning how to agree to disagree. Where you can be in the same room, a Democrat and a Republican, and be literally opposed to each other. But at the end of the day, shake hands, break bread, and walk away based off of opinion. We need to be able to do that more.
Agreed.
So if there's someone out there who says, "Hey, I'm over here in the South," you guys are talking nonsense to me, because it's different. We got to understand and respect.
Good point.
There's different geographical regions, obviously across the nation, different experiences that are maybe more extreme, less extreme. You know, we're in Seattle, Washington, you know, but this may be a lot more over in, you know, in Texas. So if there's people out there, you know, we're definitely open to have that dialogue and that discussion and dive deeper, because we do a lot of self-work. And so I think that's a really important thing to do, you know, to say and invite, because I would love to go deeper on that stuff.
Agreed.
So,
Agreed. Totally.
At the end of the day, we gonna be alright.
Hit me, do you feel we gonna be alright? So there you guys have it, man. That is another episode of Free Game Fridays, where again, this is the best place and the only place to get free real estate related game, as well as free life game from Gary the Great and DMD the GOAT, real estate professional, one of the best in the game. Mortgage lender. I can teach you all about the finances and how to